Welcome my friends, it's Admiral Revan here. Hope you're all doing well wherever you are around the world, and today I have a special announcement. Yes my friends, I'm very excited to tell you this because as an Australian, a member of the Australian community and also Australian community contributor for World of Warships, I am very proud to announce this to you. Yes my friends, coming soon in World of Warships, we are going to be seeing something remarkably awesome. Now, there have been a lot of people out there who have been talking about there should be more Australian warships and New Zealand warships in World of Warships, and guess what? Let me introduce you to HMAS Brisbane. Yes! Finally, Wargaming is listening. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's a good step in the right direction, and finally it's good to see that this warship has been put together for us. And you know, as much as we appreciate the HMAS Perth, it's a great warship all around, but you know, just by looking at this, it's long time overdue. And that is definitely damn right. And look at this warship. It is a beautiful tier 10 Commonwealth warship. And pretty much this warship, well, what can I tell you about the Brisbane? Well, okay. The HMAS Brisbane originally was something that's going to be released towards the end of the Second World War. Now, this ship is very well equipped with a powerful and advanced anti-aircraft defenses, as well as quick rapid-firing guns for its main battery of 152mm, which is pretty damn impressive. But at the same time, that this warship resembles the Minotaur. Now, if you know what the Minotaur looks like and what the characteristics of that ship does, the HMAS Brisbane is very similar. But there are some things that the Minotaur has more benefits than the HMAS Brisbane, but I don't care about that. All I care about is that Australian warships are coming into World of Warships for a change. About damn time. Look, in all seriousness, for the game I have played for nearly about 8 years in World of Warships coming up real soon, as of next year, I'm going to tell you this right now, that I am very proud as an Australian that we have finally get to see some Australian warships in the game for World of Warships. Look, in all seriousness though, there's still a lot of other warships like the HMAS Canberra, the HMAS Melbourne, the Hobart, the Sydney, and also the list goes on. But let me put this in perspective here. My viewers in the Asia community, as well as other places around the world, people would love to see more Commonwealth warships. Generally speaking, more Commonwealth warships in World of Warships in the near future. And guess what? It is finally happening that we are starting to see a bit of a nice trend coming our way. So this is a start, Wargaming. Congratulations Wargaming, you have gained a lot of people's respect, and I have to say that as an Australian community contributor, I'm very proud to hear and see that this is coming out real soon. Now, for those Australian game players out there, I'm sure that you'll be very proud to see another Australian warship to be on the fleet for you to acquire in the near future. Now, there's a lot of good things about the HMAS Brisbane, and it's been announced already in the dev blog already that it has some good, torpedo armament, as well as a great number of torpedoes, which is very good to hear. But it also has some good characteristics, for example the hydroacoustic search as well as surveillance radar, and it has a good diminishing returns in terms of rehealing itself as well during battle. And honestly, it's very good to see that this warship has been put into play here. So I'm looking forward to talking about this with you very shortly, so give me a second here and we'll bring it down for you. Okay, so here we are folks. This is the devlog update about regarding to the HMAS Brisbane. So there's a whole heap of information here, and it's probably going to blow your mind here, so don't worry, it's okay. And on a side note, happy N7 day for those who love Mass Effect. And most recently, BioWare was celebrating their Mass Effect Day, but that's on the side note, neither here or there. Anyway, folks, let's get to the point of celebrating about what's good about the HMAS Brisbane. Okay, so it's a tier 10 Commonwealth cruiser. That's awesome, okay? So it's a bit of a difference, you know, from tier 6, as you know, from the Perth, but this time around we're going to have a tier 10 Commonwealth warship for the first time in ages. So it's got a good hit point baseline around about 43,000, which is pretty good. It's got some good plating, some good fires duration, as well as torpedo protection is actually pretty damn weak though, just a bit of a heads up. But the main battery and firing range is actually pretty decent for nearly 16 kilometers. So that's actually pretty decent for 15.8. I can see that this ship can be tweaked up a bit, so be aware of that. The HE shell damage is 2150, so that's actually not too bad, and HE shell penetration is 30 millimeters, which is pretty decent. Chance to cause fire is 9%. HE initial velocity is 768 ms, which is not too bad. And in terms of AP shell damage is 3200, which is not bad for AP shells. And I can see that this is going to be interesting when you go toe-to-toe with other cruisers in battle. With that being said though, the reload time is actually pretty decent, just under 5 seconds, so that actually is not too bad. With a 180-degree turn time of 4.7 seconds. This could be, you know, either tweaked up or nerfed, either way, but keep in mind that wargaming will always do a lot of modifications. Now, this is the funny thing about it all, is that as I look around this on this warship, there's a lot of good things about in terms of the airstrikes, which is something that I'm not really into. But look at the torpedo tubes, 4.4 times 530 millimeter torps, which is actually pretty damn awesome. They got a good damage output of nearly 16,767. Range is 12.5 kilometers, which is definitely different. And the only downside about it is only 65 knots. But I have to say, this ship is good for kiting, that's for sure. And because, like, if I remember correctly, the Perth is very good for kiting. And the Perth is actually very good with the smoke as well as hydroacoustics, and also the aircraft that you use for, you know, in defense. Now, I have to say that the difference between the Perth and the Brisbane is that bigger health points, and also the tier difference is actually extreme. So both ships have a lot of good things to show in this lineup for the Australians anyway. Now, I have to say that the anti-aircraft defenses is actually pretty solid on this thing, for around about 6x1 14mm guns, 8x2 the 76.2mm guns, and 5x2 152mm guns, which is actually pretty damn impressive for a World War II warship, mind you. And in all seriousness though, the shells are pretty effective on this ship. The anti-aircraft defenses as well. So from reading from this dev blog, it actually looks very good overall. And yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be very, very impressed with this ship. So that's actually a good thing all around to start off with. So while we're waiting though to discuss it in the near future, the Brisbane is going to be a very interesting Commonwealth warship at tier 10, just so that you know and that you're aware of it. Definitely go check it out when it comes out to play, because I think it's going to be a worthwhile warship to play in the near future. The one thing I have been looking at very, very carefully at the moment at this stage is the announcement of the American destroyer, which is a super destroyer called the Joshua Humphreys. A very interesting destroyer that they have been talking about for quite some time, which is a destroyer structurally similar to the Gearing class ships, and the main armament of the super ship consists powerful 1.1 127mm guns, which is actually pretty interesting for a super destroyer. There's a lot of things about, you know, super ships and World of Warships had me scratching my head a little bit. It's because, like, why Wargaming is really pumping out all these super ships in World of Warships, and unfortunately I've just got to the point that I don't have a straight answer for you. So it's interesting that we have the Forest Sherman and we have, you know, all these, you know, different ships coming out left, right and center, but I just don't understand why the necessity to have super ships in World of Warships, to be honest. But it is very interesting to see how this will pan out in the near future. Let's just have a quick look, see what the Joshua Humphreys has. 23,000 health points, which is pretty good. That's a good hit points of the ship in a way. Just by looking at it very carefully here, it's actually not bad, you know, damage output for both the HE and AP shells. Reload time is actually pretty decent for 3 seconds. Just by looking at it again very closely, the torp range is 16.5 kilometers, 66 knots, which is pretty slow but average. But the damage is actually pretty decent for nearly 18,000, so that's actually pretty good. Just by looking at it all, this ship is actually pretty decent, but it's not a destroyer that I probably would recommend getting straight away. That's just being honest. But it's nice to see a super destroyer going on the American line in the future by the looks of it. However, as I scroll down a little bit further here, the PanAsian super destroyer Kunming is actually going to be interesting as well, because it's an Evolution American Summers class destroyer. Is very fast when well armed and features an enhanced torpedo and aircraft armament, so that's actually pretty decent to see in action. But it is actually a pretty versatile warship as well. So it's got smoke generator and also a large number of charges and accelerated cooldown. It's actually pretty good here that this ship has an opportunity to do a lot of things as well. It looks like the surveillance radar consumable is available as an alternative to the smoke generator in the same slot. So that sounds like, you know, you have the choice to have either smoke or radar, so bit of a win-win right there. Just getting back into this part here where it said like the surveillance radar consumable is available as an alternative smoke generator and in the same slot. This reminds me, funnily enough, it reminds me of the, what's an American destroyer? I think it's called the Black? Something like that anyway. But it just feels like it's similar to that idea, and the Black is a tier 9, but it has a similar idea. I know that some ships in World of Warships would have the option to have either have both the surveillance radar and the hydroacoustic, but if it came down to a ship that only can have hydroacoustics but not have smoke and have radar, or vice versa, it's a bit of interesting. It's a bit strange, just by thinking about it, that they're having, you know, ships like this in the game and taking a certain consumable in and out of the game. But I have to say that it'll be very strange and it'll be very interesting at the same time if they had a ship that had hydroacoustics, radar and smoke at the same time. But I haven't seen that yet. Anyway, regardless of which, this ship, the Kunming, is very deadly, and it is very advantageous against hunting destroyers and supporting allies as well. Maybe perhaps cruisers mostly, but I have to say that this is going to be an interesting super PanAsian destroyer coming out in the near future. But it's good to see that the Commonwealth has access to engine boosting and also torpedo reload booster, which is available also in separate consumable slots. So that's actually going to be interesting in the near future. Let's have a look at the stats on this thing. Very interesting though, with the hit points hitting around about just over 20,000, which is pretty decent, and a 19 millimeter plating as well. The fire range is at 13.4 kilometers, and if you want to compare that to the Joshua Humphreys at 12.1, so that's actually pretty interesting. So what's the torp range in this thing? Deep water torpedoes cannot hit destroyers on submarines. Blast! I wish I could hit those pesky submarines. Oh, sorry, Wargaming, I did not say that out loud, did I? Anyways, just from thinking about it out loud here, 13.5 kilometer range for the maximum range on this torpedoes, with a speed of 69. Yes, 69. That's right. It's interesting though. The damage output is just shy of nearly 19,000 damage, which is not too bad for 18,800 damage there. But in all seriousness though, this ship is actually pretty deadly overall. So I think just by looking at it, anything can happen, will happen in this for sure. So that's actually not too bad at all. But just judging from what I've seen from the outcome of this, it is actually going to be very, very good overall in the near future for the upcoming updates for 11.11 for World of Warships. Now, mind you though, if we do see the Brisbane come out, it'll be a good, Christmas gift for World of Warships in the near future. That's definitely for sure. But definitely Australians and New Zealanders will be in a good way of saying that they will be rejoicing to have a ship like this in their port in the near future. So it's nice to see that Wargaming has finally acknowledged us and have started to put in some more Commonwealth warships in there. But as you can see here, there's a lot of ships that they could add as well, like the HMS Hobart and the Sydney. But look at that, there's a Leander class, which is the Perth as well. But it's a start in the right direction, so it's nice to see that we are coming back together now. It's interesting that the HMS Adelaide was mentioned, the Melbourne was mentioned, and as well as the Sydney, and Brisbane is right there. So this is actually going to be interesting, folks, that I have to say that it's a wonderful time for World of Warships to have something like this introduced. And honestly, I don't know about you folks, but I think it's about damn time they have done so. Anyways folks, if you like what you've seen here, definitely drop a follow in the content, subscribe, comment, or anything like that, and let us know how you feel or think about this. On an all seriousness though, this is a great day to be an Australian, to see these ships have finally come to port. Action stations.